the 12th ranked prospect in Charlie and Alex's top 20, Alex Bump. That's right, Mr. Bump. Just an absolutely great hockey name. 14 goals, 36 points in 38 games as a freshman. Listen, even though he's a 20-year-old freshman, nearly a point a game is pretty damn good in the NCAA. What can you tell me about Alex Bump?
What I can tell you about Alex Bump is the Flyers really like him. And what I can also tell you about Alex Bump is that I have now watched him at 3 development camps, and he has been one of the best players on the ice in all 3 development camps. I said in our top 20 list that we published on Tuesday that he might be the most underrated prospect in the Flyers prospect pool. Brent Flair basically straight up saying like he's going to turn pro at the end of this season. Like, for example, compare that to Owen McLaughlin. When I asked about Owen McLaughlin, when's he going to be ready? It's like, well, it might take us some time, whatever. And he left the door open for the possibility that, hey, the Flyers may not offer him a contract at all. Like, he may not be a guy who ultimately joins this organization. There is zero doubt that Alex Bump is getting a contract. And it seems like he's getting a contract as soon as his year gets finished. And then, like, depending on where the Flyers are at, he might get an NHL games at the end of this season. Like, if the Flyers aren't in a playoff race in late March, early April, maybe we see Alex Bump at the end of the season. He's intriguing because there's real skill here. Like, this is a guy where if he makes it, he's going to be a middle sixer. And, like, that is not me. I don't want – some people might hear that, like, oh, just a middle sixer. Like, if you get a middle sixer out of the 5th round, like, that's Oscar Lindblom, okay? Yeah. If you get a middle sixer who's scoring you between 40 and 50 points a year in a scoring role because he has that kind of talent, that's a really, really good pick. And the more I watch Bump, the more I wonder if he can be one of those surprise players, one of those guys that you don't think much of, like a Noah Cates type. And then suddenly it's like, nah, he's a player. He looks like a player. He looks way more skilled than you would ever expect a fifth round pick to look.
And that was the quote I pulled out from Flair. I thought was really telling about what they think this kid can be and when. He's rounding out his game. And I do think this is a guy that has a chance to not only be an NHL player, but I think by the end of this year, he should be ready to turn pro. We'll see where it goes. That absolutely read to me like, oh yeah, there's a real good chance he plays this year. Like in one of those maybe burn a year situation, whatever it is.
Yep.
That sounded to me like a guy we're going to see either with the Flyers or the Phantoms in late season 2025, end of this season. Like, and that's as much as the long-term projects and everything, like, okay, that's all great. And we do need guys down the road. I'm ready for something new, man. I'm ready for a shiny new toy. I keep trying to find one. Maybe he's going to be it in March or April. It could very well be a possibility.
Could be. And one thing that is interesting, too, about Alex Bump is that, the Flyers don't have a ton. I know we always talk about how they're stacked on the wing. They have a ton of wing depth, and they do. They have a ton of wing depth in the NHL level. But one thing about Bump that's interesting is he is a left-shooting, natural left winger that they don't have a lot of those. It's basically Joel Farabee, and that's it.
Yeah.
So, and Mitchkov shoots left, but he prefers the right, and I imagine they're going to use him on the right, at least for this year, because they want him to be as comfortable as possible as they integrate him into the NHL. There could be space for Bump. There really could. And I don't know. I watch him play, and I see a guy who does not look like a 5th round pick. The way that Flair described his college season was interesting too. In this interview, he basically said that, look, first half of the year, 36 points in 38 games looks good on its face. But it's worth remembering that in the first half of the year, he was being used like on the 3rd and 4th lines of that team. They made him earn his way up because the thing with Bump was that, Bump was a freshman, and usually freshmen have to earn their way up anyway. But he really had to earn his way up because he was a late transfer. He was originally going to be going to the University of Vermont. Then in, I believe, July of last year, so 2 months before he would have showed up to campus, the coach who recruited him to go to Vermont got fired because apparently he was like texting with an undergrad, and they fired him for it. So then Bump was like, okay, well, the coach that convinced me to come here isn't here anymore. I'm going to try to transfer. They have a setup in the NCAA, at least for hockey, where if something like that happens, they basically give you like an extra transfer window if you want to leave. Well, he left. and he ended up at Western Michigan. So he had to get a handle on a whole new school that he wasn't expecting, a new coach, and he had to basically, convince that coaching staff that he deserved to play off the lineup. Well, by the second half of the year, he did, and that's when he really took off. So I think there's the potential here this season for Bump to have a really big year, and it could very well culminate in Bump getting signed and playing pro games for the Flyers by the end of the season if he takes a further step. And I think the Flyers believe he's going to.
We all silly like the mayor.